Contextual overdependence, prodded by applied language, is a perceptual disorder that adversely afflicts equilibrium in many people today. For instance, let's look at how language either empowers or enslaves free will. Clearly, such a linear trap induces perception into limited venues. What is outside empowerment or slavery? The possibility that neither expresses a viable position from which to discover what we have done to ourselves to inhibit our perceptual arrangements beyond the scope of engagement we recognize. If you monitor your perception, you can free your mind from perceptual habits that sack your vitality. Just watch how you operate, or rather how that part of you that works the world operates. Just remember, you are not who you think you are. Exclusivity or inclusivity are conceptually linked. They need each other to define one versus the other. Can you explain inclusivity without the specter of exclusivity? We ensnare ourselves through differentiating terms as the experience of one versus the other is contextualized into what we know, and upon recognizing one we think or speak of the other. The victor is as much victimized as the vanquished in a reality where both are being played to be one or the other or one against the other. The known through language entraps human comprehension into a perceived resolution by deceiving us into selecting linear perspectives of limited scope and range. Many of us fall into these perceptual traps unknowingly, amplified by the type of understanding we practice and is practiced around us. Perceptual allegiances also reflect the way we occupy physical space. We synthesize recurrence within our assemblages that can be used repeatedly since we are geared towards accomplishment within a stable environment. Words, cars, buildings and more would not make sense if we only used them once. Everything we do is based on recurrences inside a static and coherent ecosystem and endless supporting subsystems of meaning. Humans are shepherded into continuity, a matrix that cannot exist without matriculating humans into contextual designs. When we look at ourselves in the mirror, we accept without question the person that looks back at us as who we are. We look at ourselves each morning 1,000 times a year, and we recognize the person looking back. Yep, that is who I am. But what of humans outside contexts? Asymmetrical perception, as opposed to referential paradigms, allows for more elbow room, highlighting a greater range to perceptual fluidity. Okay, so here are examples of greater contextual fluidity. One day, around age 24, I was living with my parents at their house in New Jersey. I looked at the mirror in the morning, brushing my teeth, and soon thereafter fell into an extraordinary lucid state in which I saw myself portraying endless numbers of faces in succession. I was given the knowledge these faces were mine at some point during alternative lifetimes. Yet another day, I distinctly remember looking at my face one morning and marveled at what I saw. I did not recognize myself. Who was this person in the mirror? The point? If the norm rules perception to objectified standards which define what is possible and impossible, we fall victim to rigid contextual latitude and expressions from which we make conclusions. We must widen our operational context beyond the known, closer to the unknown, where we gain situational awareness and a high degree of flexibility needed to adapt to situations we are unprepared to deal with. Familiarity as a subset of recognition is a precursor to inventoried cognizance. Recognition through names and form, factors, coherence and precedence from which we pattern a recurring type of awareness. Few people question the depth of their awareness, since most of their waking moments are spent recognizing within the familiarity of their existence, occupying precedences that serve the anthropogenic fixations of the day. We are conditioned to be who we are, and what we think and do reflects the focus of an insulated social personality, seeking to balance its equivalence through fundamentals exposed as an affirmation of the reality created, creating us, creating it. The ability to perceive what is not understood is the first step in the grand scheme of things. Unless we convert what is not understood into what can be understood so that we may perceive it in plausible terms. But there are major caveats to this. Our present relationship to experience is a posture, examined, described and understood. But experience outside of such scrutiny is an experience beyond the polarity of belief, politics and assumptions. It creates a deeper, wider berth, recreating a non-linear level of perception impossible to contain within a descriptive, prescriptive reality, yet widely experienced outside the norm. It is the root of intelligent perception. When knowledge originates from contextual background, language conveys its expressional intent, whereas knowledge beyond the known leaves no footprint from which to examine or recall beyond a sense of experience. Nothing contextual reverberates there, yet something as nothing, though not the nothing we understand nothing as, exists in this void, outside lexical expressions, independent of conditions that offer a separate understanding through which humans and their actions convey cogent terms of causality and effects. Precedent-based perceptual dependency is practiced by humans every day, resulting in the transmission of a visceral capacity to correlate what we don't know and its effects through an entity such as us. In effect, we translate everything into a specific spatial arrangement, thus creating a boundary from which to peer into an obscured yet manifested duality as professed by language. For instance, language conveys progressive itemization of a reality filled with objects correspondingly defined into words, meaning we objectify the world around us from which we create an assemblage, an ecosystem dominated by what, where, how and when, moderated through explanations understood. Yet alternatively, there is no reality to be explained, nor a language needed to explain it, and the duality observed is merely a perceptual dilemma created out of the emphasis which prioritizes the known while dismissing the unknown's potential to balance the relevance of an explanation. Meaning, within the unknown, humans are directly plugged in, and those questions are irrelevant. Language simply cannot ascribe any clarification on this subject. Consider that language clarifies by befuddling and, through subterfuge, projects a linear representation, thus exposing a contradiction prejudiced by perceptual contraction, hardly acknowledged by those affected, specific to a contextual cognizance so convenient and effective, we forget we are merely using tools at our disposal rather than to project overall awareness. One could say that it, in capital letters here, to enable differentiation and not to propose a sense of importance, is something that eternally endures within and outside us, despite our preoccupation as tenants of context to withhold or dismiss this information or to banish the human spirit into the hubris of competing or contrasting religious or philosophical aspirations. Indeed, knowledge such as this is often misdirected through words by defining the void as an alternative reality or as a superlative to another posture demanding a description so as to make it real. Yet that would be insufficient, as language cannot clarify what that or it is. Anthropologists have exemplified numerous cultures and tribes whose relationship with unspoken knowledge guided them during tenuous moments, as if to say this knowledge provided something unusual and mysterious. And while this comment merely generalizes particular links towards the unknown, they hint towards aspects of our lives to which we are insufficiently exposed, masking the essential nature of its overall presence. Teach2learning.com. Visit us and expand your creative intelligence. Copyrights 2020-2024.